solve your business finances. Because if you don't tell your money where to go, then it will wander off. That is the reality. Listen, if you're a business owner and you struggle to organize your finances, right? Maybe you're making a little bit of money, maybe you're making a lot of money. I know for me, years ago, before I learned this thing that I'm gonna show you in this video today, I was making millions of dollars and still couldn't quite understand why money just still was funny. Some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You know your top line was good, but the bottom line is still not so great. Even with bookkeepers and all the rest of it, if you don't implement what I'm about to show you now, that's going to forever be a struggle. That problem will not fix itself. And so I did a podcast on this, and per you guys' request, I'm actually going to illustrate on the whiteboard so that you can visually see exactly what I explained in that podcast. By the way, that podcast was called Profit First. Now, this Profit First idea, I do not claim to be my own. I actually got the concept from reading a book by Michael Michalowicz. Michael Michalowicz is the inventor of this process called Profit First, but I could save you the couple hundred pages and just show you exactly how to implement this so that you can solve your business finances. Because if you don't tell your money where to go, then it will wander off. That is the reality. They call it currency for a reason. Money flows to the least path of resistance. So if we know anything like electricity, the current flows to the least path of resistance. Same is true with your finances, right? So if you don't give it a home, you don't assign it, you don't tell it where to go, it will wander off. It'll wander off in those expenses that we don't see as expenses, the Amazon purchases, the meals and the eating out, all the things. So let's get into it. Before I do that, I want to say this. We always hear how your network is your net worth. We always hear how there's power in proximity. The reason why those things are so important is because had I not been in the right rooms with the right people, I would have never heard about this concept. I would have never learned this. And as a result, I'd still be stuck making millions of dollars and not understanding why the money still was funny. And so a buddy of mine had a $20 million company several years ago. And so we used to get together and do the small group. Like, you know, at church, they encourage you to be in different types of small groups. So oftentimes, for those of y'all that's out there that's business owners, you know, everybody don't get it. If you're not an entrepreneur or business owner, even if you are a believer, sometimes there's just still not a relation point. So my buddy started this small group with all business owners. And so we would get together, I think it was once a month or bi-weekly. One time we were over there and we were sitting there eating while we were fellowshipping before we started the study. And one of the guys was a franchise owner. He was like, been reading this book, man, Profit First has been changing my life. So my buddy, whose company was doing 20 million at the time, he was like, oh man, yeah, we implemented that years ago. It was like, obviously we're a much bigger corporation now, so it don't apply as well as it did when we once were smaller. Smaller being not 20 million, right? Like let's be clear. So if you in that space right now where you're making six figures, multiple six figures, even multiple seven figures as I was, this will help you. Okay, this will help you tremendously. So in order to execute on Profit First, there's a couple things that you need. First, there's something that you need to know, and then there's some things that you need to implement. The thing that you need to know is this. For most of us as business owners, we understand that we have people working for us, that they are our number one priority. Yes, at some point in time, it gets to a point where all of us have to make a decision of whether we got to let somebody go because we keep having issues with payroll and we can't make it, and so we got to get lean in a specific season. But I'm talking about, yeah, you may be going through a rough patch, but you're always going to make sure that your people get paid because they're the people that's taking care of you, right? Well, Michael Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, endured these same type of issues, and so he can identify with where we're at in that journey. The thing that he also highlights is the fact that if you keep making a habit of paying everybody else and not yourself, one, it's not healthy. Two, it's going to lead to burnout. Three, it's going to lead to you going out of business. So he implemented this process in his life, and now he's helped millions all around the world do the same, including myself, with this idea of we pay ourselves first. Now, I think it was Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad that may have mentioned this concept of always pay yourself first. So there's a way of doing that while still taking care of everything else and rewarding yourself for all of this work and the sacrifice that you go out and pursue. So that's the thing I need you to first understand. Now I'm going to show you tangibly how you implement this idea. So you're going to need about 5 accounts. Now, because I'm a believer and because this believer's in business, then we're going to start out with making sure our first account take care of God. Now, you may not identify with that, and that's okay. So you would omit this part. But for my believers in business, whether you tithing or you haven't been and need to be, that's where we're going to start. So the first account is our tithe account. Got the handwriting of a physician, so you got to trust more what I said than what I wrote. But tithing is the first account. The second account is Profit First. The third account is going to be your operations account. The fourth account is going to be your tax account. We all love the taxes, right? And then the last account will be a savings account. So similarly to what I did inside of the podcast that I introduced this idea, I'm going to explain this briefly, but you could also go and watch the podcast. It's called Profit First. It's in my library on YouTube under my podcast category. And you can go and watch it for a deeper dive. But I wanted to illustrate what this looked like tangibly. So the idea behind this whole concept as I started this conversation was this. If you don't tell your money where to go, it will wander off. What happens is we got to be very intentional, not only about making money, but intentional about how we allocate and separate the money. Now, some of you are going to be diligent enough that you can have all of these accounts at the same institution. Others of you may need to take your tax account, your savings account, and put those at a separate institution so that you're not even tempted to go back and tap into it and only keep the other accounts under one umbrella. To each his own. You know yourself, you know your limitations, you know your ability to discipline yourself against yourself, self-leadership. Now, assuming that you got all of these at the same institution, here's what's going to happen. Revenue comes in, it likely goes to your operations account for many of us. Money comes into the operations account, depending on how your business is set up. Okay, I'm not going to get into all the nuance of that. Some of y'all may be solopreneurs, single person LLC. Some of you may be on payroll, you're LLC with an S Corp election. I don't know what your situation is. However, you do. So however you divvy things up, I'm going to keep this simplified for the sake of the illustration. Money comes into operations. Right off the rip, we send 10% to the tithe account. If that floats your boat, that goes and gets distributed wherever it's supposed to go. Well, after I take care of God, then I got to take care of myself. 10% goes into the Profit First account. Now, this is very important. Hang on in this video because I'm explaining to you exactly how you get the benefit of the Profit First and when. Probably not what you think in terms of when you source those funds. By the way, if this is helping you, just like, subscribe, comment, all the things that can help this get pushed out into the algorithm and share this with a fellow business owner. Many people not aware of this and they're making all this money, but they're suffering in silence. This will change your life. And I know it because it's changed mine. It's changed our clients. It's changed my colleagues' life. So take care of God, take care of yourself. Yes, you guessed it. Then we got to come down here and we got to take care of Uncle Sam. Now, again, I'm not a licensed CPA. I don't know if you pay your taxes quarterly. I don't know if you pay your taxes, Wesley Snipes. Okay, I don't know what you do. But what I am saying is whatever you do, it's probably going to be somewhere between 10 and 30%. So we can just use 20% for the sake of this illustration. 20% get allocated to the tax account. And then if possible, 10% go to your savings. Now, savings isn't just savings for saving, right? Once you've gotten whatever emergency amount that you need allocated, should something happen, payroll, all the rest of it, this savings account should be used for the purposes of expanding the business and investing more, right? So being able to put more into marketing, being able to put more into infrastructure, being able to put whatever that is for you for expansion, that's what you want to use the savings account for. So for those of y'all that's over there doing this mental math, yeah, it's 10, 10, 10, and 20. That's 50%, which means that you probably running the rest of the operation off of 50%. Now, some of y'all are mortified by these numbers. Maybe your margins aren't there to do this, whatever. Okay, if you're a coach or a consultant, I hope that your coaching or consulting business can sustain this. Like you should be able to run on this type of margin profile with no problem. If you can't, click that link in my bio or description and book a call with your boy so I can help you. Okay, but this is the essence of what you're going to be doing. So for those of y'all that's not there yet, here's what you want to do. Like anything else, if I was starting to go to the gym, I can't go in there and put up 225 day one. I can't go in there and put up 315 day one. Ladies, you can't go squat 135 day one. Well, what you can do though is start where you are. So what you want to do is you want to start with a lighter weight and just start doing reps so that you could develop what? Muscle memory. You want to get in the habit of doing this. So you take this framework right now and maybe you can only give 5% to your tithe. Maybe you can only give 5% to yourself. Maybe you can only give 10% initially to taxes. You're going to have to pay them eventually. You got to figure that out. And maybe you can only save 5% right now. And the rest got to go in operations. Whatever that is for you, let it be true for you, but start it now. This is the beautiful part for those of y'all that hung around for this. Here's the rule that Michael set forward, Michael Michalowicz. And I actually like the rule personally. Your Profit First account, you don't touch it, but every quarter. Now, here's the rule, though, before you get too excited and start planning your trip. By the way, if you're a founder, you take a salary from the business, these monies are outside of your salary. I just want you to know that. So don't think that you're double dipping. You get paid a salary for whatever it is that you perform within the company. And then as the owner, you get a quarterly distribution. So here's how it's going to work. At the end of each quarter, you're going to look to see, is there any outstanding debt on the business that needs to be taken care of? Is there any outstanding tax bill that hasn't been taken care of? If the answer is no to both of those things, then guess what? Whatever this is, you did 400K that quarter, you got 40 grand to go do something with. You see how this is working in your favor? At first, yes, I know, because in your mind, you kind of like, but I can't put this money there and put that. You just got to do it. I promise you, the framework, the system, the process will help you fix yourself. Because I know more often than not, as the founder, you used to paying yourself last a lot of the time. So it is a different behavior. And that's what I mean by, even if you have to change the allocations and make them super small just to start establishing the habit, then do that. But what about that? What about when you do 400,000, you having a great year, you do 1.6 million, you got 400,000, you getting $40,000 every 3 months to do whatever you want to do with. Look, let me just tell you this. 2019, we were doing good. We had our first $1 million year in 2018 in our coaching business. Had another one in 2019. But this is when all the leaks were happening. I didn't understand what was going on. From 2019 to 2022, we didn't take any vacations. Mind you, I'm making millions of dollars, but we're growing the business, but we also got leaks and holes in the boat, can't quite figure out. I got a lifestyle business too, though, right? So my marketing team was in LA. I spent a lot of time in San Diego. So we traveled, but it was business technically. In 2022, after 3 years of not taking any vacations, we went on 8 trips in 2022. Met David Green from Hobby Lobby, billionaire, phenomenal people, great family. Spent a couple days with him in Oklahoma City. Went to a couple weddings. But the big one, we went to Greece, Santorini, Mykonos, Athens. We was over there for 2 weeks, spent like 30 grand. Your boy didn't come back wrestling with credit card bills, and we wasn't at odds because we trying to blame who was responsible for making a poor financial decision. None of that like we used to. Because of what? Profit first. So literally, I have our operations account. I got an account that's named PF. I got an account that's named TX. Got an account that's named SAV for savings. I just named them all. And when the money come in, it's a non-negotiable. It just goes where it's supposed to go. And I know some of you like, but if I get into a pinch, if you go into it already thinking of breaking the system, then you lost. Are there extenuating circumstances where you may have to manipulate and maneuver? Of course. That's why you're an entrepreneur, right? Nothing is ironclad. We always trying to maneuver every day. At the very same time, though, we also should be fighting to stay within the framework because the process protects you from you and everything and everybody else. If you implement this in your business, not only will you make more money, you will have more margin, you will have more peace. Imagine when you look at your account and you're looking at your operations account, which is typically the big piggy bank for everybody's business, is just a catch-all. And you're like, dang, I only got 30,000 in there. I only got 17,000 in there. So I only got 1,700 in there. But then when you realize, because you've been doing profit first, that you got 13 grand in here. You got 20 grand in your tax account. You got 13 grand just sitting in the hopper waiting for the quarter to end. You've been paying your tithe. You've been taking care of God off the rip. And then you got $17,000. That's a totally different conversation than when you looked there before and all you got is 17,000. I'd love to get your feedback. Let me know if you think this is bogus. Let me know if you think this is beautiful. And let me know if you're going to start implementing it immediately. And also, if y'all hadn't noticed, I hadn't done a whiteboard illustration in a very long time. So if you want your boy to do more of them, also let me know in the comments. I'll see y'all in the next one.